Oh, Stephen, Minnesota, yeah. And, yeah, I was, you want to know what I was doing all my life?
Well, what branch of service were you in, Matt?
Engineers,
Engineers? Were you in the Army, Navy?
Army,
Army?
yeah.
Okay. And were you drafted?
Yeah, I was drafted. I left on a bus from Warren, Minnesota. We went to Fort Sheridan, Illinois. That's where we got the basic training.
In where?
Fort Sheridan, Illinois.
In Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
And how'd you get there from Warren?
with the bus.
In a bus?
The bus, yeah, took the whole bunch of us. Yeah, from Florida and all over there was.
So you knew quite a few from around here?
Yeah, and yeah, that's where I think we spent 14 weeks or something like that, and then we went. Then we went to that's yeah. Then we got on another bus and we went to not Seattle, Washington, but
Fort Lewis?
Fort, yeah, and yeah.
Was it a fort?
We got there on the bus, and then we had to wait for about two and a half some weeks for the ship to fill up. See.
When you were there, you went through, did you go through infantry training there, or
No, I didn't. We didn't do any training.
you did that back in Illinois?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we got. It was a funny country that Washington. You see, you sometimes you couldn't see. You know,
For the fog?
all fog, yeah. Fog and the printer, the rain was, yeah. And the funniest part was that we come back 18 months later and it was the same. I don't know how the hell people lived there. You know, it was the same darn thing. Yeah, yeah. From there on, then we went yeah, we got on that ship. I forgot how many days it took. And we ended up in Chuncheon. That's where we...
In Korea?
Yeah, in Korea, yeah. Then we got on an old train that the Koreans had. All the windows were blown out with bullets, and it must have been someplace in the fight where they were fighting, you know. And then there was I remember a bunch of kids like this here. Some didn't have any clothes, and everybody reaching, so we threw all the KC rations and we threw it out the window and give it to those kids. And then we started going.
And this was in South Korea? You were in South Korea at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we kept going. We made camp. I forgot what. Well, then there was nothing but mountains and nothing. So I think they just made camp. I don't think there was a name of it. And yeah, and then what happened? The war was over in 17 days. I remember that we got what was it, 60 some miles from the 38th parallel, and
So you got there 16 days before the war ended in Korea?
yeah.
So that was
no.
19...
I was there when the war ended.
You were there when the war ended?
Yeah, I remember because there was going to cease firing and we all were sitting outside, and I don't know, both sides just blew just to get rid of the ammunition or what, but it was completely red. And then at 12 o'clock, it's just like a storm went through over here, you know, it was settling, and that was the end of the war.
So you were there in 1953.
Yeah.
1953. Do you remember what month you got there?
Well, it must have been, it was warm here, so it must have been in the summer.
Summertime. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look in the discharge maybe.
Yeah, you couldn't go by the fog in Seattle because that happens a lot.
Yeah, it was the funniest thing. You see, you couldn't do nothing, and that's all we did is march, you know, every day. Not every day, maybe, but you know, to keep in shape till the ship filled up. Yeah, that was the first time I was on a big ship. You know, the people puking this way and that way, and you know, they got sick. It didn't bother,
Seasick, yeah.
yeah, it didn't bother me any.
You were lucky.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we used to go then on the rail and watch them those sharks and whales. They'd jump up in the air and floops back in the water. And then you could see them next to the ship.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, they were all the way to Korea.
Okay. Did you, when you were in Korea, was it an M1 you carried? What was your specialty?
Well, see, when I was over there, when the war ended, then they sent 2 people out of each platoon to Japan. That was, they called it advanced engineering or whatever, you know, went to school. And that was maybe a month or so, because we had to wait over there to get enough for the class or whatever it was, you know.
So you were in Japan?
Yeah, in Japan, yeah, I went to...
How did you get to Japan? Did you, by ship again?
In a Globemaster.
They what?
In a Globemaster. We flew.
Okay.
You must see the Globemaster. They were those big ones. Well, they got them where you load the tank right from the front, you know. And
Right.
And then, see, they were transporting GIs with those too. But you could load the whole darn tank in it and take it right in front of the...
It's a big plane.
Yeah, that was a big plane. It was tin, and we sat on the sides, everybody, and it rattled. You know, you wouldn't think that it's gonna make it, but they're still flying them. I watch them on TV. They load them up, and you would have thought maybe that they already junked those. Yeah, and then when I come back, then everybody that went to school made corporal. See, they froze the rank right after the war. Then nobody was getting any rank. But the guys that went to school got, I think then I got $100 and some dollars. You know, you get more money for the corporal. And yeah, yeah.
So where are you?
Then
When you made corporal?
When I got back from Korea, then I had a bunch of Katusas, and then we were going every day. We were building the road up to the 38th parallel.
So you're back in Korea now?
Yeah, I was back in Korea, yeah, yeah, and yeah, I remember they were teaching these Koreans how to run cat and dynamite and that, you know. Yeah, I remember. See, I had to watch. You see, they drilled the holes and then they filled it with C3, and then I had to watch. So I was the only one that could pull the crank.
So you're working with C3, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an explosive.
Yeah. And dynamite it was. And then one day, we got up for reveille, and this first sergeant said everybody is going home. See, they sent everybody home.
How long were you there?
18, I think it was 18 months or whatever it was.
How many?
18 months, I think.
18 months in Korea?
Yeah, well, yeah, in Korea, yeah. And yeah, everybody is going home. And then we got to transported back on those trucks we went from, oh yeah, we went to Seoul. Then we left from Seoul for Seattle.
So you were loaded on a ship in Seoul?
At Seoul, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it was the same thing. Then we got, when we got to to Seattle, what was the name of that? Was it big camp?
Well, Fort Lewis is
Fort
in
Lewis, maybe that's what
Yep.
it was, yeah.
is just outside of Seattle.
Yeah. Then we went on buses back again to Fortune, Illinois, and then we was there for a couple of weeks or whatever it was, you know, processing, and then we got the discharge. We got paid for 2 years, and we got the discharge. I remember the last thing that was, I got my papers and we were walking out, and there was a brand new Cadillac, pink Cadillac, standing, you know, nice.
Sorry.
And they were selling tickets, dollar tickets. Well, they must have made $1 million on that Cadillac, because everybody that went through, you know, and some bought for $5 and that. I had the ticket for many years, and then it finally wore out. People, I don't know who got the Cadillac. That was the end of the service.
What rank were you when you got out? Were you still corporal?
Corporal. See,
Corporal, because they froze.
There was only 2 people out of each, the ones that went to school.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I think we were getting $84, or what the heck was it? Something like that.
So that was $84 a month.
Yeah, for PFC, or what was the rank then? No, PFC.
Well, there's the private, PFC, and corporal.
Yeah, well, yeah, PFC, that's what everybody was PFC.
Okay.
Except, yeah, I remember I got $100 and some. That was a lot of money.
That sticks in your mind, huh? Yeah. So when you were done with service, you came home then, or?
Yeah, we got on a bus and we were going through Chicago, and there was about 2.5 acres or so of brand new Ford cars that were for sale, you know, and the new ones were out too already, and so we got off on the corner, me and another guy, and we went, and then I called the conductor and asked him how much he wanted for a car, and I think I saved, what the heck was it, $700. Bought it in Chicago with the
For a new car?
Litsing Motors, I remember that.
Oh,
Brand new car. Yeah, I called my dad up. He was working on the railroad, in the depot, and they used to, what do you call that?
Telegraph?
Yeah,
Telegraph?
yeah, telegraph.
telegraph.
Where they,
And then I had the money inside of 10 minutes,
Really?
and I was going home with a brand new car.
That's, and
1954 Ford, yeah.
1954.
Yeah, it was, I think that I paid $1,800,
Really?
yeah,
Cool.
if I didn't be mistaken. And you see, you couldn't wear out, that was when they first come out with the valve and head motors.
Sure. And so when you got back to the States, how were you treated? Pretty good, or?
Oh, yeah, well, that part, yeah, I got when I come back, I got a job for Ray Benson. I run that, anhydrous ammonia plant. They just got the, in Stephen. Roy Benson had that and I used to have up to 11 applicators going all over the country.
Anhydrous?
Yeah, and he was doing that for the farmers. And then you see the farmers, were you farmer or not?
Yep.
Yeah,
My dad farmed.
Yeah, you see the farmers, that went kind of wild, that liquid fertilizer, because it was so much cheaper, and then everybody quit, and all those applicators were backed into the woods.
Yeah.
And I think there's still some there.
Yeah, they're bringing some of them out of retirement now. I think they're starting to do more anhydrous again.
Yeah, yeah. And then I worked, I think 7 years. Then Roy Benson was a big contractor, road contractor. He built, so then I went on the CAT for Benson. Yeah, and then I don't know how many. Then me and Art Lodell, we bought out Bill Clark. Bill Clark quit, and then
Bill Clark?
Yeah, he had a drag line and that stuff, and that's how I got going. And that I must have been in that for 65 damn years.
You did that for 65 years? Wow.
Yeah, I did half and half in North Dakota and half in
Wow.
Minnesota.
So you moved around a little bit.
Oh, yeah. One time I had 4 cats, and I had bought a patrol, that was life.
So Matt, when you were in Korea, was there anything you would like to have done different or seen done different, or?
Well, you see, when you see when we went through before we assembled, you see all the towns were all blown up. The only thing was a tree standing, and then the bark was off on this side and on that side, and that's the only thing that was standing there. And then there was some buildings, the windows, everything. It was just like you watch it on TV when they demolished something. You see, all the towns were
Pretty war torn.
they were blown up.
Yeah,
There really wasn't nothing.
yeah.
And then I remember when we got to Chuncheon, a big boat come from the United States, and then he said he had tar. So you see, the Americans were started fixing these roads for the country. I'd like to go there and see that, how that looks, you know, because they wanted to make we were making a road to the 38th parallel, you know, the rocks and everything, and they push it down and then more, and and then you'd probably run into a space where there was no rocks, and there they had to haul, I suppose, dirt with trucks. I don't know what, because I went home. So really, Korea, there was nothing. In Japan, we went to see where the atomic bomb dropped.
Oh, really? You went to Hiroshima or?
Yeah, a bunch of us. They still had it all roped out after all these years. See, the Japs wanted to see when the Americans come for vacation, how damaged it is. Well, you couldn't see the bottom, hardly.
But what, I mean, was it still pretty much totaled out when you?
Yeah, they didn't do nothing because they wanted to leave I suppose, for the Americans to see what they did to the Japanese.
And the radiation stays for quite a while too, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what that. yeah. But in Japan, when you see you know, they live there. See, they catch the fish and put them on a fish line, and the sun dried them out, and then they ate it because that was what you see.
Sun dried, huh?
Yeah, it smelled like a son of a gun, but what was left was food. You see, what we eat is half. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they did it the right way.
Yep.
It smelled like a, and then the old man would be sitting on a log by the hut, you know, and he had a long pipe, and the woman, they'd put the baby on the back and another bag, and they went to work in the rice fields. We seen that.
So while you're in the service, you had some pretty good experiences.
Well, you see, you see, in Japan, went in Tokyo, well, what you see on TV sometimes, it's nothing but cars and bicycles and horses, and then they all go at the same time.
Sure.
And the road, and it's toot, 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 toot. And then on the sides, all the way through on the sides, then there's the market, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, the people bring it from the fields and they sell it, and that's their money.
Like a farmer's market.
Yeah, that was the money.
Yeah.
But Japan was they were way ahead of the United States. They had a road up in the air, and they farmed on the bottom. They don't do like you go to Grand Forks, and it takes I don't know how many acres to get to Grand Forks. They don't lose that.
Huh.
They build the road
On stilts?
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but you farm everything on the bottom.
Sure.
And you see, they're trying to do this in the United States too. It'll get done maybe too someday.
Yep.
It avoids a lot of accidents, I suppose. But where we could see, it must have been, yeah, because they farmed underneath and the road was on top.
Sure.
To say they, I don't know how far it went to one city or the other, I suppose. Yeah, they lived there. The Japs were a little ahead of us because I didn't see no roads up in the air in the United States.
Hmm.
They got one little overpass.
Well, Matt, is there anything else you wanted to add, or?
Well, that was it, I guess.
Okay, well,
Here a fellow sits, and you fellow don't know what's going to happen. You see.
well, thank you for your service, Matt.